In 2023, Dalio Education released a landmark report on the state of disconnected youth in the state of Connecticut. By compiling data from diverse and sometimes siloed organizations, they were able to better build an image of how many children were at risk or already disconnected from school or work. That number was 119,000, which is now the name of a commission created by CCM to engage experts and the public alike as we seek to reconnect these young people with a brighter future. Joining us today is Josh Brown of Domus and Andrew Ferguson of Dalio Education to talk about the foundations for this commission and why this work is important. Municipal Voice is the Connecticut Conference of Municipalities podcast in collaboration with WNHH LP 103.5 FM. I'm your host, Matt Ford. As always, be sure to give us a like and let us know what you're thinking in the comments. CCM's Municipal Voice podcast continues to present a key forum on important state-local issues. The views expressed do not necessarily reflect consensus views of CCM or member municipal leaders. Andrew, Josh, thanks for joining us today.
Thanks for having us. Good to be with you.
Good to have you here. So in March of this year, CCM launched the 119K Commission. Josh and Andrew, you were both co-chairs along with Eleanor Carbone, the mayor of Torrington. Can you each give us a little background on how this came about and what does it mean to be at risk or disconnected? Andrew, we'll start with you.
Sure. So look, for a long time, folks in Connecticut have known that we have a crisis. We have a crisis in how our systems are too often not serving young people between the age of 14 to 26. We're simply leaving too many behind as a state. That's been known for a while. But really back this fall, it became even clearer to even more people in this state. And it started when Dalio Education, which I'm a co-CEO of, along with my teammates, principally led by Alir Coffey, who was really the leader of the work of the research that resulted in this report. When we published the report that said, look, we do have a statewide crisis. 1 in 5 young people are at risk of not graduating high school or have already disconnected from education and employment. That means you're at risk of not graduating high school if you're chronically absent, if you're struggling to pass the courses required to graduate on time, or if you're struggling with behavior challenge. If you're disconnected, it means you've already dropped out of high school, you haven't earned a degree, maybe you're presently incarcerated, or it could be that you have a high school degree, but you have no job and you're not currently connected to post-secondary education. That's what we mean by at risk and disconnected. And really this fall, that research created a moment where people started paying attention to what so many in this state have been saying for a long time. That led CCM, with the leadership of the organization, to say, look, we, CCM, want to convene forums in every corner of this state to bring people together, to raise awareness around the facts of how our systems are not serving all young people well. CCM convened 4 or 5 forums. They heard a lot from different corners of this state. CCM thoughtfully then took all of that input and started to think about, okay, what could we do? And CCM then said, look, we as municipal leadership, as the organization that represents every town in this state with municipal leadership, we ought to step forward too. And they did in the formation of this commission, and just so thrilled to be a part of it as a co-chair alongside Josh Brown.
Yeah, all the the good info there turned into action. Josh, a little bit about how you got involved.
Well, so my Josh Brown and I've actually been working in this field for the last 10 years in the nonprofit field for the last 10 years, trying to tackle this problem, disconnected and disengaged youth. Reason being, I was one of these the young people that we're actually speaking about today. Experienced, a lot of personal lived experience. One being, 14 years of my life, I was homeless. On and off, living in everything from shelters to cars to abandoned apartments, laundromats, you name it. This person's house, a room in apartments, emergency hotels. And through those 14 years of homelessness, a lot of things happened to me where I was, I fell through the cracks. I ended up in juvenile detention at one time. I got kicked out of all the public high schools in Stanford, and I had to graduate from an alternative school. And with problems such as homelessness, poverty, instability in the households, access to no resources. This is why those things happen. And it's an honor that I was even selected to be on this commission, and proud to be on it because these issues that CCM and I hate to, I don't like to toot the Dalios horn too much. I'm being told to stop that, but with CCM coming to like to do this now, and people like the Dalio Foundation, who has, not only released this report, but has been supporting the work of those who've been trying to disconnect. I mean, who's been trying to connect those disconnected and disengaged for a few years now. So, it's very important to me. Again, this is me. I am them. However, with those obstacles in my life, I want the young people to know, if we connect these 60,000 young people, if we connect them, and then go in depth of connecting, whether that's in the workplace, post-secondary education, and then also investing in things like financial education as well, so they can know how to handle their money and when making money, where it should go. We will be able to connect these 60,000 young people. They can be like me and own a home one day. I can tell you I was homeless, but I own a home now that I paid. And so, I don't want this to make this about Josh so much, but this is important. It's overall going to help our state. And when it comes
helps
to
everybody.
yes, sir. Yes, sir, it does. Think about the investment, the return on this investment when you connect these 60,000.
There's an economic argument to be had there as well.
Absolutely.
Now, Andrew, baseball season has started up again, and I remember some of our meetings, you had a really interesting way to describe how many young people 119,000, one in five in Connecticut is. Could you share that?
Yeah, so let me describe in two ways. So 119,000 young people, right? Imagine if you walk to the center of Yankee Stadium at the pitcher's mound, look around the expanse of that stadium, right? It's filling that entire stadium, and it's filling Fenway Park, and you would probably still have some young folks that are waiting to get into either stadium. It's that large. It's also, if every one of the 119,000 were to literally hold hands, lock arms, they would reach across the state. We've actually calculated that. Like, that is how many young people we have living in this state, growing up in this state with incredible potential, and yet our systems are not working well for them. We say a lot that we have 119,000 reasons to hope, 119,000 reasons to act, right? Josh's leadership is proof of that. And the young folks I taught as a New Haven school teacher, they are proof of that. There's so many more. And that's why we've just got such urgency to this work, such promise in it, and why we're just, really, Josh and I each feeling so lucky to be a small part of it.
Why Disconnected Youth? Why now? Does this have any timing, have anything to do with the COVID pandemic?
Well, I'll say,
follow you.
One thing, and I'm going to let Andrew come right after me. Why not now? Number one, and if not now, next year we're going to have another 10,000 disconnected and disengaged, and then the year after that we'll have another 10,000. So if we don't address this within the next if we don't close this gap within the next 5 years, we're adding on 50,000 to the already 120,000 that are disconnected. That's 170,000 youth that are disconnected. Now, what burdens are going to become on the state? People, the access going to social services program. I mean, we're probably going to exhaust those resources if we don't stop this now. So it's imperative that we tackle this issue now. Head on. And some of these problems, as we know, existed pre-COVID. And yes, COVID came. It made people. It made it a lot worse. One example is we asked children to get up and do what we're doing right now and get on a Zoom and sit there for 6 or 7 hours a day, and they were already disconnected and from school, and now you're telling them to sit in front of a Zoom and sit there and be still and do their work. And how successful was that? So we're asking young people to do it, and it's hard for adults sometimes to come together and sit on a Zoom. So pre-COVID and after COVID, it got worse.
It keeps going. Andrew?
Yeah, I mean, it's so well said. Just build on that a little. The context is, There have been so many people like Josh, like myself, like so many teachers and nonprofit leaders across the state that they have been doing this work for a long time. Right. And so some of the pieces that have started to join in these efforts that have been really going on for decades is, as Josh touched on, COVID. This crisis certainly has happened far before COVID, but COVID really brought it home to a large number of folks that before it was largely invisible to. That mattered because it helped to expand the base of folks that were aware of this. The other pieces are like there are other organizations that are doing their part to contribute towards solutions. So under the United Way's leadership, the Campaign for Working Connecticut, right, they are actively advocating for solutions in response to this crisis at this moment. And the other piece, why now, is look, municipal leaders have stepped forward. This commission is comprised of 15 commissioners, 12 of whom are elected municipal CEOs, 6 Democrats, 5 Republicans, 1 independent, from Canterbury, Connecticut to Stamford to New Haven to Hartford, right? And everywhere in between. The fact that they have stepped forward, that CCM has stepped forward, that is also contributing to this moment.
Yeah.
And that's why we also just feel such potential for what we can accomplish together.
Yeah, and I think that variety speaks to the fact that this isn't just like a big city problem or a small town problem. It's everywhere. Every town in the state is touched by this.
Yes.
CCM, after looking at the information in the report, was moved to hold roundtables throughout the state to further build the story around at-risk and disconnected youth. Josh, we actually met you at our first roundtable in Norwalk. Tell us what brought you there and why this issue is important to you.
Well, to be honest, I was actually out doing some outreach, and I had got a call that they were going to have they were having a meeting around disconnected and disengaged. CCM was hosting it in Norwalk. It actually was a place that my little sister had attended, and I was like, you know what, if someone can speak about this matter, who not better than myself, to not only live experience, but what I've been trying to do for the past couple of years myself. So when I heard about the meeting, I was like, I have to be there. And I actually got there a little late, and I was like, I probably ain't gonna be able to speak too much. But I was able to speak, and I appreciate CCM and the Dalio Foundation for even wanting to select me to even be on this commission. But I want personally why I wanted to be involved is because I know the severity of this issue, and if we don't tackle it, what it can be, because I can tell you about the success story, but I can also tell you about those that were suffering just like myself, and they fell more through the cracks where some of them are not here today, they have passed away. Some of them are incarcerated and has been incarcerated since their teenage years. So these are the problems. This is what happens. And I don't want to bring this into a number thing, but for every young person that goes to jail, I just want to put this out there. That's $275,000 that the state has to spend on that young person to be incarcerated. Imagine a percentage, 10% of that, $27,000 if it was allocated to help this young person, what it can do. So I don't want to get all the gist of the numbers and stuff like that, because I tell you, I did 10 years in retail banking too. But the numbers don't lie. So I fur off you, Andrew.
Andrew, Josh touched on some of this with the cost of incarcerating someone, but can you talk a little bit to the economic argument for doing something here?
Absolutely. And look, we'd always first start with the moral case, right? Josh and I, we know there is a moral case to care, a moral case to do everything you can. If you aren't persuaded by that, we'll talk numbers with you, because the economics make sense. In other words, if we all do nothing, and if we in Connecticut allow this crisis to continue, or allow our systems to keep failing our young people, the cost that we're already paying is $750 million a year. 400 million is what we taxpayers are spending because way too many young people are disconnected from education employment. 400 million. 350 million is what we are leaving on the table because we aren't successfully helping all young people to thrive.
Yeah.
In addition to that, if we could, imagine if we could, which we can, help young people connect to jobs in our labor market. Today's labor market has more than 100,000 unfilled jobs. We've done the analysis. There's 56,000 of those jobs that a young adult, 18 to 26 years old, could become competitive for in the next 5 years. If they were to fill those jobs, the GDP impact benefit to Connecticut is $5.5 billion.
Wow.
That's 2% of the whole Connecticut economy.
Yeah.
Right. So to Josh's point, it is far cheaper to educate someone than it is to incarcerate someone.
Yeah.
The economics matter. To your point, Matt, at the outset, this is about every town in this state. It's about the economics of it. It's about the moral case of it. It's about loving every kid. We're talking about the children that are our children or the friends of our children, right? It's about trying to rally Connecticut to work together to address this statewide crisis.
Excellent. One important question that will be on a lot of minds is, what is the goals of this commission?
Goal's simple. The process will be challenging, but the goal's simple. What Josh and I signed up for, what Mayor Carbone signed up for, and all the other commissioners is to work together to ultimately build a strategy. It's actionable and real for what it would take for Connecticut to get 60,000 young people who are currently at risk or disconnected from education to get 60,000 young people back on track.
That's half of those disconnected youth.
Correct. Over multiple years, right? This won't happen overnight. Let's set the right expectations. But the goal is to publish a strategy that would show what it would take over multiple years for Connecticut to get 60,000 back on track. And so, in other words, what this is not publish another report. It's not create a big glossy narrative. It's not, talk at 100,000-foot level. It's really create an action plan for what it would take for Connecticut to do this. We have a very intentional, inclusive strategy development process that is drawing in multiple inputs as part of this work, realizing that this CCM commission is one table among many tables in this state of deeply committed people who are trying to make their contribution to addressing this crisis. And so from the CCM side, this commission is trying to do its part and join in concert with many others to do it. So that's why we really are, so clear on what the goal of this is and so intentional about how we're trying to build a very open and inclusive process for how we're going to build this strategy and publish it by October.
Great. And what are your roles going to be as co-chairs, Josh?
Well, so right now, my role as the co-chair is actually I was about to say forming these youth roundtables. Actually, having these roundtables, going back to the youth. For instance, we have a youth roundtable that's coming up very soon in Waterbury. We're doing with Waterbury POW. And it's going back and getting the input from the young people where they're at. And I've been blessed by this commission to really head that and lead that effort. We have two that we wanted to do that, but with that being said, we might stretch that to about 3 or 4. Because the young people's voice is important, letting young people know that there are people who do go through these things, but there is alternatives and there's ways out of this where you can become self-sufficient. And I hate to keep throwing the word success out there so much, but you can become a success. A lot of times people say to me like, well, why don't you take yourself as a success? I say, because I'm not finishing what I'm doing in life. When I
work in progress. Yeah.
I'm telling you, when I was tapped for this right here, I said, now I have the ability to help thousands. Then I can say, okay, well, I was a success, because it's not always about like where you can get to yourself, when you can get to a place and then go back and help others and bring them with you, it's a I can't even tell you the feeling, I can't even tell you the young people I was hiring in the bank for years, or going out into the community, financial literacy and things like that, and just it's so much, and I know we got so little time in these months, but this next 5 years though, it's very, very, very important.
Very exciting stuff.
You are listening to the Municipal Voice on WNHH 103.5 FM.
CCM and really this commission is built around municipal leaders. You each come from the nonprofit world, although Andrew, we know you were a teacher in New Haven in the past. What has it been like working with mayors, first selectmen, as well as our own executive director, Joe DeLong, as you kind of navigate this commission?
Yep. So, I mean, we've, from the roles that I've worked with a lot of municipal leaders across the state, Republican, Democrat, small town, large town, various different issues. And first, I'm always struck by just how decently good they are as people. Like there is a reason they have chosen to devote their life of service to this work. There's a reason they have chosen to run for public office and stand up to all the challenges that entails. Right. And there's a reason that they've also chosen to serve on this commission. I mean, take Mayor Carbone from Torrington as an example, right? She's a co-chair of this commission. There are 1,000 different things Mayor Carbone could be doing with her time. She chooses to do this. And she is investing an incredible amount of time in this commission, right? It's under her leadership with us, with the other commissioners as well, with Joe DeLong as well, that really she is helping to make this a success. And I am confident it will be a success to achieve our goal by October because of her leadership, right? She's an example of so many other municipal leaders that are doing the same thing. I've found that municipal leaders too often, or rather often, do not have time for the politics because they have to be pragmatic in finding the solutions because they are accountable to their communities to do just that. And so therefore, really, it's a roll up the sleeves mentality of trying to understand from multiple points of view, what is the challenge? Why is it happening? And then how can we address it? How can we address it together in ways that certainly is responsive to a statewide need, but also is customized to the needs of local communities and towns, recognizing that each community is different in many respects.
Yeah. And Josh, what has it been like with you working with, these figures from around the state?
Yeah, and I said it in the beginning, and I was like, I've never really been into the politics, and I was saying that in the beginning. But what I have found out and learned in this commission, the how important these municipal CEOs are taking this issue, and I'm actually taken aback and kind of blown away and commend them on it. As Andrew was speaking about Mayor Carbone, she has attended every meeting. She's been very, very, very. She has showed. They have shown, and to be clear, that they care, and then when you have these municipal CEOs who do have, I mean, their time is really constrained. There's a lot of things that they're doing. They are the CEOs of their respective cities or towns. But the time that they're taking and the input that they're taking from others to help to fix this issue and to tackle this issue, I feel it's great, and my hat's off to them and to the CCM team as well. Because I said this in the beginning. I told Andrew, I said, I don't know how this is going to be like working with people with politics and stuff, because I'm not a politician, and I might say or the wrong thing, or they might say something I don't like, and it's like, and that just hasn't happened. It's been a collaborative effort, really, to get these young people, that 18 to 25, but and as we're looking at these young people. These municipal CEOs has also been looking at families, so when we're talking about these young people, and I can just speak from personal experience. If I was suffering that and it was 2 other people in my household as siblings, my brother and my sister, I also had a mom. So it was 4 of us, that are going through this, and they're looking at the whole picture and taking this matter very serious. And I have nothing but great things to say about it. And that's coming from the non-politician, I tell you.
Yeah, you don't have any reason to lie about that.
No reason to.
Matt, can I just add one other piece to this? Because I think it's both, from our experience of working with CCM and Joe and the team at CCM, but also the commissioners that are part of this commission is, none of us think we have all the answers to this.
Yeah.
And so that's why we've also been so intentional to try to say, look, we are clear on what the goal is, build a strategy to get 60,000 back on track. And we are now starting to roll out what the process is to achieve and develop that strategy. This process is very intentional in the different inputs that we are asking and creating opportunity for.
Yeah.
So, for example, one of the key inputs are these regional meetings.
Mm-hmm.
We have 8 regional meetings. The first one was in New Haven at the end of March. The last one will be in October when we release the strategy.
Yep.
These meetings are intentional about creating opportunity to hear from panelists who are doing this work in every corner of this state, to
Mm-hmm.
hear from members of the public who want to come to these meetings and share their ideas and expertise. That's one of the ways in which we're getting input. To
Mm-hmm.
Josh's, he's organizing youth roundtables that the
Yeah.
commission is going to community. That's another way. There are other ways as well that input will be gathered as part of this process. And that to me just all comes back to who the leaders on this commission are and their recognition that together we must find ways to address this crisis. And we must do it by listening to those who have direct experience in living it and
Yeah.
also working to address it.
Yes, because at these meetings, the 119 Commission is inviting public comments for people to come up. Not only that, but we're also inviting them to do testimonials through our commission's website. So if they can't show up in person, they can still submit that through the website. But why is hearing from the public so important in this instance?
I'll say so. I'll actually pick it back on something Andrew just said that I think has been very key, and that I would like to highlight. He said, those that live the experience, then those that come in, and then there's those who have tackled, tried to tackle this issue
Yeah.
for a while. When you have both,
Both perspectives, yeah.
it's both. It's important, and then the public. You want to hear from the public, those that are going through this, going through these obstacles and these issues, and also those who might have, a part of a solution to help this. Why? Because like Andrew said, it's a collaborative effort. It's going to take a bunch of ideas and a bunch of plans, and it's coming together with one strategy to address this issue. So the public input is important. The commission has stressed that. Yes, there's a lot of experts that we talk to as well, but we want to hear from the public.
Yeah.
Even to a point where Mayor Carbone did not want, even though our time was up, at 9 o'clock, she still wanted the remaining 14 people to speak because it's that important.
Yeah.
So Andrew, I'll let you say a few.
Yeah, well, I mean, just Matt, to bring the folks who are listening kind of into, some of the commissioner conversations that we're having is we always say among ourselves, look, the purpose is clear, build a strategy, get 60,000 back on track. But our goals, what we hold ourselves accountable to are 2. 1, develop that strategy with real concrete things that we think will work and help 119,000 folks who are currently not served well by systems. And second, to do that in a way that includes other people who are not on this commission, so that when you have the strategy, it doesn't sit on a shelf, but it has a lot of people who've been invested in the development of it, so that there then is a group of people who are invested in the success of it, who are going to advocate for it, who are going to do their best to implement it. And ultimately it comes back to, Matt, your question, why? This matters because we're talking about 119,000 young people in our state today who are living and growing up, who we ought to love, and we ought to do better for.
So at our first meeting that we had recently, over 100 people from New Haven area showed up at Hill House High School on a Tuesday night for 3 hours. There's some dedication there to give testimony, a lot of them. 30 people signed up to speak. How did it feel to kick off, with such high energy?
Well, it felt great. The turnout also shows the importance again of this and how important people are taking this issue. That was a key highlight for me. And again, this is like my first round table and first commission that I've ever been on. So I was a little I wouldn't say happy because the reason why I say happy, because it makes you feel good when people actually want to come out and tackle this issue, and it's not just something that people are trying to kick under the rug or just think that it's just something that we're just talking about.
Yeah.
And to add to that too, Matt, it's more than 2,000 people have actually watched the video recording of that meeting from start to finish, 3+ hours.
Yeah.
Far more have watched different parts of the 3+ hours. And so this is being seen and heard by a large number of folks, which is important because I think that helps us build momentum and helps us raise awareness under the basic idea that if more people know, more will care. If more care, you have a stronger will to act. And all in furtherance of the mission of helping young people to get back on track. And so I thought it was, a good start in that regard. But at the same time, we are always asking ourselves the question of who isn't here that needs to be. Right? So who couldn't come out to New Haven on a Tuesday night? And part of the work of this commission is to make sure that we're also creating opportunity and space for them to be included, and for, in some cases, the commission to go to them. And that's in part why, under Josh's leadership, he's organized the commission on April 18th to go to Waterbury, to meet with young people who are currently at risk of not graduating high school, right? That's one example of many that folks will see over the next several months of how this commission is trying to both hear from people, but also go to people so that together we build a strategy that works.
Josh, you started as an attendee at our first roundtable to being a panelist at the last roundtable before this started, and now you're, on the committee. It's clear that your story resonates for people because it gives people hope. It shows there's, with the right tools, disconnection is not the end of somebody's story.
Right.
At the last roundtable, you said there's a lot of me's. Tell us what you mean by that, and how do you give those kids hope?
So when I say me, I have a folder that I keep on me when I I know people be thinking I'm crazy sometimes, but I keep a folder on me, and in my folder is my high school transcript, and in my folder is a few other documents that I keep on me. Why? And you'll say, well, why the high school transcript, and why when you say these are me? The first 3 years of my high school, and it tells you on the transcript, is all F's instead of one class, which was a D that I got in for English and a D I got in social studies. To be honest with you, I think that my English teacher there was just being nice because I had too many absences. Anyway, I had almost 400 absences in just high school alone, and a lot of that was due to the homelessness as well. But that being said, I also carry around on me 2 other documents, and I'll just throw them out there, where I was the banker of the year in 2012. When I worked for RBS Citizens Bank, and when I have the deed and the paperwork of me paying off my mortgage. And you say, well, why is that? Because when I tell you that, yes, you can be homeless, but you can go own a home. Yes, you can be poor, but you can get connected to a job where you can make a livable wage, where you don't, I'm not saying that you're going to probably be rich off the bat, but with hard work, you're going to be able to be self-sufficient. Also, you can go into this workplace and inside of a place like a bank. And I just graduated from an alternative school 5 years ago to become the banker of the year, beating out 22,000 other colleagues with my work. And I say to people, and I tell them, I say, so tell me what I haven't experienced, right? That you're experiencing now, that you can't do what I'm doing. And a lot of them sometimes they'll tell me like, well, I didn't even know that you even went through that, because I know you got and I forgot to admit, I got a little trucking business. I don't want to, not boasting about myself, but, well, I thought you had some trucks and you had a house, and I know you always talk about stuff at Domus, but I wouldn't have known. And it's to let you know that there's a lot of people who suffer from these things, but there is a way out, and you can become a success. Your
circumstances don't define you, really.
Right, without the fun, and I say this again, this is nothing against any type of social services programs or cash assistance, things like that. But my mother and my family, we had to deal with a lot of these issues without the assistance of the government. And why do I say that? DCF, we would have had to be involved to be involved with DCF. You would have to give like your address, and if you don't have an address, you're automatically you're homeless. They'll come and you'll be removed, things like that. Where we would have been in the foster home. So my mom did not take cash assistance. She didn't get things like Section 8 public housing, and something as little as Husky insurance. Why? The fear of that the government is going to come and take her kids. And I do get it, but I also explained to people, it was a lot of things that I learned through that as well too. You
Mhm.
know, so, and I nothing against those programs,
Yeah.
but however, you can make it without the assistance of those programs.
Mhm.
Come on.
You are listening to the Municipal Voice on WNHH 103.5 FM.
One thing people might want to know, maybe even folks in the New Haven area who missed the first meeting, is how do they get involved? Are you looking for more experts? What are you looking for?
Yep. So I would say, several ways. One is if you go to 119kcommission.org, that's the
Mhm.
commission's website. And that's a great way to, one, learn about where the next meetings are. The
Mhm.
next meeting is going to be in Mansfield Town Hall at 6 p.m. at the end of April.
Okay.
There's a way to go to the website, again, 119kcommission.org, sign up for the meeting, sign up for regular email updates from the commission. If you wish to provide public testimony, you can also go to the website and do it that way as well. Second is in New Haven's case, because you mentioned the city, right? Mayor Elicker, he is a member of the commission. Reach
Mhm.
out to Mayor Elicker in this case
Mhm.
and tell Mayor Elicker your ideas. Ask Mayor Elicker to host a forum to raise awareness around these issues. I think all of those are some of the many ways in which people can become involved in this commission.
With dozens of people already submitting testimony through the website and at the first meeting, how is it going to be compiled? What should people come to expect to come out of all this?
Yeah. So what will come out of all of this is a strategy to get 60,000 young people back on track in Connecticut over multiple years. That's what this commission is going to produce. How are we doing that? You mentioned the public comment and testimony. So
Mhm.
all the testimony that's submitted through the website is currently posted on the website. So if you go to
Okay.
119kcommission.org, you too can read the testimony that's posted there. We read personally all of the testimony that is submitted.
Mhm.
Second, the public comment. We listen to all of the public comment that is offered, whether it be through the regional meetings, whether it be through the youth roundtables that we'll participate in. And we're getting all of this input, as well as so much more. And then together as a commission, we're compiling it all together to try to make sense of what are all of these ideas. How could they be organized together to form a coherent, actionable, real strategy to get
Yeah.
young people back on track? Throughout the next several months, we'll provide updates about how the commission is progressing in its process to develop this strategy. We're just getting started. We just had the first meeting a few weeks ago. We're, planning hard for the next meeting at the end of April. But very much that's how we're trying to gather this input. Josh and I, Mayor Carbone, and so many other commissioners are personally going through all of it. And then together we're organizing it to form a strategy. Josh, what would you add for that? It's, you and I have been together almost every day or every 2 days together since the last several months here. We've been working hard, but how would you answer?
I mean, to be honest with you, Andrew, you answered it. And it's key that this strategy is implemented when once we put it together. The importance, there's 169 towns and cities that are going to have access to this strategy, and putting this strategy together. Again, we said before, it's not just a big city issue. This is an issue that is going on in every town and city in our state.
Yeah, and to underscore too, right, is just Josh and I touched on earlier today, right, how much we admire and respect the municipal CEOs who are serving on this
Yes.
commission, because again, they have 1,000 different things they could do with their time. They
Yeah.
choose this way. Josh
Yeah.
and I are not elected municipal CEOs, but we also have 1,000 things we could do with our time.
You're
We
busy
choose
people,
to
yeah.
serve this way. I know I can speak on behalf of Josh that the two of us, this matters to us.
Yes.
For a bunch of reasons, it matters to us. We're serious about this. And we're serious when we ask people, what are your ideas? When we say we want public comment and testimony, when we say we want to learn from young people, we're sincere about that.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
We know what it feels like to be asked for ideas, but really not to care about what you share. That ain't this.
Yeah.
Right? We are doing the best we can to gather broad input, sincerely consider it, figure out how to pull it together in a strategy that has a bipartisan, pragmatic consensus behind it, and ultimately lead to why we signed up, which
Yeah.
is help young people to get back on track.
Right.
Well said.
I couldn't have said it better.
Typically, we like to end each episode talking about the future. In many ways, the future is unknown for disconnected youth, but the website says there are 119,000 reasons to hope and 119,000 reasons to act. What are each of you hopeful for, and what do you think do you think the state is ready to act?
I don't think the state, and I'm not speaking of the state as a government, I'm speaking of Connecticut as a whole. I don't think we are all yet ready for this. And that's part of why we're doing what we're doing, right? Which is we started back in fall talking about an unspoken statewide crisis.
Yeah.
We were intentional about those words because really, Josh and I know about this. Teachers know about this. Nonprofit leaders know about this. Municipal CEOs know about this. So many others know about this.
Yeah.
But there are a lot of people in Connecticut that don't know about this. And part of our collective work, part of what CCM has been doing so well for so long, and others have been doing so well for so long, is raising broad public awareness and understanding. That's important because you have to meet people where they are. You can't assume that people already know about this. You've got to meet them where they are and help to raise awareness around it. We've found over time that when you do that, more people will genuinely care about this because they'll see that it is something that is statewide, impacting every town in this state. They'll see that if it's not about their kid, it's about the friend of their kid, or it's about their kid who happens to be a public school teacher in a community, or it's some other direct connection. They'll see that. They'll also see that this crisis is actually about something that already aligns with their existing value set. In other words, we don't have to persuade you to believe something you don't already believe. We just have to help you see how what it is you care about, what you value, it's actually part of this.
Yeah.
This is a big tent thing. This is something that affects nearly every issue. And so we just have to build that coalition, build these bridges across Connecticut so that then together Connecticut becomes more ready, more quickly to do something about this crisis. And so that's why we're really trying to do this in such an open and public way. So it's as much about building the strategy as it is about the process of doing that.
Yeah.
Right. We will all end up in October far better informed about this work than we started a few months ago. That's deliberate. And that is how Connecticut ultimately will become more ready with stronger will to have significant action about this work, because it's going to be no easy feat to get 60,000 young people back on track over multiple years. The system today is not built for that to happen. Right. We need to work together to ultimately change these systems so that they are better supporting young people across this state. That will take a lot of work. It's going to take a lot of learning and iteration. It's going to take a lot of consistent, committed dedication. And it's ultimately going to take, a lot of collaboration so that folks, can find consensus and work together and ultimately love all young people in this state. And so I'm hopeful that that's going to happen. The reasons I'm hopeful is because of what I've seen and see every single day in this state with heroic people working so hard, whether they be young people themselves, whether they be people who are serving young people. I'm hopeful because of the commissioners I'm just so lucky to serve with. And I'm hopeful because of the two co-chairs that I'm lucky to work alongside in Mayor Carbone and Josh Brown. I just feel very fortunate to be a small part of this process, and it will succeed.
Definitely.
It will
Josh,
succeed.
what are you hopeful for?
Sometimes they say I'm a little overly ambitious. I hope that we're able to connect more than 60,000 kids and maybe reach that 70,000, in the state. This is only going to empower our future. This is our future. Like Andrew just stated as well, whether it's your kid, you don't have to, it's or whether you're looking at it as somebody else's kid, these are children. These are kids. This is our future. 120,000 can wind up being 200,000 very, very, very quickly if we don't tackle this issue. And I'm telling you, 200,000 young people, 119,000 is already crazy, but 200,000 young people being disconnected, we're going to have a far worse problem. And I will say this, and I will say it for the record, it shouldn't be happening in a state like Connecticut with the access to the resources that we have, with the workforce the development piece of the workforce that we have here. The way that the programs and the other resources that we have here in the state of Connecticut, it shouldn't be happening.
Yeah.
So, I want we're going to start here in Connecticut, and I am ambitious, and I really feel that once we get this together within these next 8 months, next 7 months to get this together, we can have a plan to roll this out nationally. So when they start seeing within this 5 years, once we tackle this can become a national model.
Yeah.
Again, there's people that's coming together from the private sector, and there are municipal CEOs that it might become where they're state CEOs and governors becoming the state reps and senators, that we can give them a model to follow for it to be nationwide. And I will just end it with this. It's going to get done here. I appreciate the commissioners that I'm on, the municipal CEOs, and the two chairs that I serve with. Again, Mayor Carbone from the city of Torrington, and here Andrew Ferguson from the Dalio Foundation. I'm again honored for this mission. I know we're going to get it done, and that's all I have to say.
Great.
Look, and Matt, too, just last word is, just thank you to the CCM team. Joe
Yes, thank you. I
executive director, he's an incredible partner. He is, fantastic in his leadership. And I also just want to thank, George, Ron, Donna, Rich, right, yourself and other colleagues. Just the folks at CCM have also really stepped up in a significant way for a long period of time. And you really just want to acknowledge all team members at CCM who are contributing toward this, because really, they are playing a really important part in joining this effort, leading this effort to ultimately achieve this goal.
Yeah,
So,
I mean, we think it's a really important issue for us to address.
If I can say one last thing too, just a second, when you said too about CCM, I wanted to throw this out there. When you mentioned Joe DeLong, who's the executive director, me and Joe talked back in November about some of these issues and a lot of these issues, and I remember him saying up at the Mohegan Sun, like, we're going to tackle this issue, and we're going to tackle this issue very, very soon. And it just goes to just speak to how important this is to not only just to the people, but to CCM and all the support that y'all have been giving us. So I wanted to throw that out there and shout that out there too, because I know I'm talking a lot about with the municipal CEOs and what we're doing as the chairs, but really, 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 really hats off to CCM on everything you do. Like Andrew said, Donna, Andrew, Ron, Matt, yourself, Richard, Raphael, we appreciate it. Really greatly appreciate it.
Yeah, well, we know it's all part of a team effort that we all got to work together on this issue. So the next meeting is going to be in Mansfield at 6 p.m. on April 30th. So if people want to come and give testimony or just sit in on that, they can do that. And also it will be online for them to watch. And they can check out more at 119kcommission.org. Well, Josh, Andrew, thank you so much for speaking with us today, and keep up the good work.
Thank you.
We'd like to thank our guests, Josh Brown and Andrew Ferguson. The Municipal Voice is a co-production by CCM and WNHH 103.5 FM. Christopher Gilson is our producer, Harry Draws on the boards, and I'm Matt Ford, your host. Be sure to check out our Facebook page and give us a like, and watch out for our CCM chat series on our YouTube page.